Local Immigration Partnership of Lanark and Renfrew County is situated on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin people. Local Immigration Partnership is working towards reconciliation, and this acknowledgement is just a small reminder of that larger commitment.
But what I would like to do is just share the Strong Woman song with you all. This is the first drum song that I learned, and I guess it has a lot of meaning to me. As that first song, as some of the first sets of teachings around carrying a drum and being a drum carrier, being able to carry those songs, it has that really personal significance to me. I do want to acknowledge that this song, as the teachings were gifted to me, it's meant to be acknowledged and honored that this song comes from P4W, the former prison for women, located in what we now refer to as Kingston, Ontario. This song was developed by and came to, I should say, those women who were incarcerated there, Indigenous and non-Indigenous, specifically folks who were in the solitary confinement sections of that institution. It's a song that carries their spirit with them. I'm so honored to be able to carry those teachings and bring a little bit of their spirit to us here tonight. So
Gastant kakusdut duchat osau klinikach goch nachat city yan yedi ayachat glek hayadi kadeshikan that's hanta ayachat desis and kwan ayachat, and now Jamie's going to translate. It looks to kill. Duane Gastant is my name. I'm Tlingit. I'm a Wolf Moiety. My clan is Yan Yedi. I'm a white man child. My father is Acadian from Cape Breton, Shetty Camp, Cape Breton. And I'm from Teslin, Yukon, and my grandfather is split-tailed beaver. So it's an honor to be here today and to talk about Two-Spirit. I never thought I would ever see a pride parade at Pembroke. So this is amazing. It's amazing what the work that Jamie and his crew have done here to help make Pembroke an more accepting place for us who belong to the LGBTQ2S plus community. And the end of that acronym, 2S plus, that's Two-Spirit. And that's what I am, and that's what the Creator made me. And so before the missionaries had come over, that's the Two-Spirit. Each First Nation had their own teachings around what it meant to be Two-Spirit. My First Nation had their own teachings around we call it, which was like the medicine man, medicine people in the Tlingit Nation. But then along came the missionaries with their different set of morals, their different religion, and imposed that upon us, and then told us that we were sinful and wrong. So get in that closet. But thankfully, there's that memory that's coming back. That memory that's coming back of who we are and the role that we play. See, when I was growing up, that's just who I was. I didn't know what it meant to be, but my grandparents knew. My mom's mom and dad, they knew. And so my grandmother would save me the best dry meat out of the bag, and all my cousins hated me and stuff. Oh, Duane gets the best dry meat. Well, it wasn't because she loved me more than my other cousins. It's just that she was honoring, just a little bit maybe. But she was honoring that Two-Spirit that she saw in me. And my grandfather, very stoic man. And a lot of the cousins know him as just someone who's very, very stern. But for me, he made me this big moose hide boat, moose skin boat that I would play in the water with. Again, not because he thought I was the best or whatever. He was just honoring that Two-Spirit that he saw within me. But I didn't know what that was. My mom, one of my earliest memories, gay memories, I guess. My mom would always make me Halloween outfits. So when I was 8 years old, Mom was like, what do you want to be for Halloween this year? And it was so natural to me. My superhero, I was like, I want to be Wonder Woman. I could see Mom like stopping doing the dishes. Well, she never made me the Wonder Woman outfit then. I think she made me some bunny outfit or whatever. My dad's really, really Catholic. My dad's Acadian, so he wouldn't go for anything like that. But 30 years later, when I was 38, I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, you remember 30 years ago what I wanted to be for Halloween? She's like, yeah. And I told her, I'm still waiting. So she made me Wonder Woman for my 38th year for Halloween up in the Yukon. And so that's when I started finding out those teachings of what it means to be Two-Spirit. It's more than just who you sleep with. It's more than being fabulous. It's a role that you play within the community to help the people. And I think that's one of the things that because we have those two spirits, we're supposed to be the bridge makers, the peacemakers. Because we have that duality, we can see both sides. So we can see both sides, and it's bringing people together. Now, as a Two-Spirit, that doesn't mean we always do that. Sometimes if we forget that we're supposed to be that balance, and then we get off balance, so we can get off balance like anyone else. And that causes disruption. But when we're living our traditional role, it's that helping. And also it helps too, being two-cultured. Being Tlingit and Acadian, being Indigenous and being from Western society, it's a duality as well that I've had to learn to balance within my life. And so that's what happens when you forget your history, is that you can get off balance. You don't forget where you come from and you don't have no idea where you're going. And so I think that's part of a learning for me as well, and I'm constantly on a learning journey. Is learning what does it mean to be Tlingit? What does it mean to be Two-Spirit? What's it mean to be Acadian? What's it mean to be a caretaker for my 87-year-old father here in the Ottawa Valley? What does that mean? And there's just amazing teachings that I'm always learning. In 2007, my Two-Spirit people recognized me as the 2007 International Male Two-Spirit Warrior. And so there's a lot of responsibility that goes along with that. And so part of that is teaching and sharing with people. And it's just an honor to be able to come and share with you guys here today.
I guess I'll start by talking about this journey of coming home. That's really how I think about it and how I understand what this learning journey is that I've heard you talk about, Duane. And for me, I see two paths that I've taken and that I'm still traveling to that coming home. So for me, one of them is coming home to my indigeneity and doing the learning journey of what does it mean to be ethnically Indigenous if I don't show up as racially Indigenous, if that makes sense. What does it mean for me to be 7th generation Anishinaabe Aucoin? What does it mean to acknowledge that there are tensions and that the membership of the Bonnechere Algonquin First Nation, membership of the Algonquins of Ontario, is pretty fraught. There's conversations about blood quantum, about community connection, about relationship to land, relationship to culture, proximity to knowledge keepers and elders. And it's all really complicated, and it's more than we could get into and explore fulsomely in just the time that we have here tonight. But I do want to acknowledge that, and acknowledge that part of that journey of me coming home to my indigeneity is coming home with accountability. I'm not going to show up empty-handed when I come home. I'm not going to show up and demand attention. I'm not going to show up and not be willing to pass the mic when it's due to center two-spirit kin first, and to center elders and knowledge keepers first. I think the second path that I'm on is coming home to my queerness. A journey that for me didn't start with Wonder Woman, but started with a variety of redheads of the 90s. Gillian Anderson as Dana Scully. We're talking about Gretchen from Recess. We're also talking about Spinelli from Recess. Pepper Ann, Ginger Spice, thank you. Ah, yes. So I think about, those early red flags, so to speak, in a good way. I think about those early signs of like, oh yeah, I could be different. I was also raised Catholic, and so there's not a lot of room there for exploring what could things be, what could love mean. Does love have to be this preoccupation with sex? Does sex have to be bad, right? So coming home to that a little bit, getting out of the Catholic school system and actually getting out of the Valley, unfortunately, is where that journey really picked up pace for me. And I say unfortunately because I'm so grateful that with recent events over the last 2 years that have impacted us all globally, I ended up back here. And I really wish that more of that journey could have happened here. I'm so grateful, like I said, for the experiences that I've accumulated, traveling to a bunch of different places, being a guest in many different nations across Turtle Island. But this is my home, and I'm so grateful to say that it feels like home more now. In terms of my indigiqueerness, I can provide a little bit of context around that. So I would really encourage folks, if you're looking to get a different sense of what does it mean to be indigiqueer, what is some of the legacy of that term, definitely we're looking to Stonewall, we're looking to those original trans and two-spirit and queer folks who started that riot, who started that movement. I'm also going to recommend that folks check out the work of our indigiqueer kin, Joshua Whitehead, an amazing author from Peguis First Nation. So many folks. He's the one that's coming to mind because I'm nervous. Thompson Highway, thank you, yes. Tiffany Jones, there's so many folks. Kim Tallbear, everybody. In terms of my indigiqueer identity, I specifically don't identify as two-spirit because I don't have those teachings. And so as I said, coming home with accountability, not coming home empty-handed, trying my best to not be appropriative and recognize what spaces are for me as a reconnecting native who's trying to do that with accountability, and what spaces are not yet for me and may never be for me. And that's okay. I don't experience the systemic oppression that some of my kin do. And I have supports, and I need to be able to manage my privileges, to be able to navigate that hurt when it shows up and acknowledge that that's not oppression, that's hurt, and it's very different. And I never want to replicate that oppression either. So I don't identify as two-spirit, but I do identify as indigiqueer. And basically for me, that has a little bit more to do with sexuality than with gender identity. I identify as bisexual and demisexual or demi-romantic. So I sort of joke that I fall in love with stories rather than people per se. I want to get to know who folks are, see their spirit, hear their heart, and from there, then like maybe we do fun stuff. Oh, gender identity. Yeah, let's talk about gender identity a tiny bit. I use she, her pronouns, and I think that that's solid for right now where things are at. I identify as Anishinaabe Aucoin, and that little bit of just a different suffix holds intent for me. It's there for a reason. It says, okay, she experiences the world as a woman, but there's room for dreaming there. There's room for other possibilities. And I like holding that door open just a little bit and translating that into English as Indigiqueer, saying like, okay, there's multiple paths, there's multiple journeys. It's a little bit nebulous, it's a little bit foggy, and that's okay. We're here for things being not super clearly defined. We're here for things being fluid. Yeah, so that's the distinction as I see it. I know that there are some folks who identify as Indigiqueer and Two-Spirit who say my Indigiqueer identity has to do with my sexuality, and Two-Spirit has to do more with my gender identity. The most important thing to me is coming back to roles and responsibilities. I have an emerging understanding of what my roles and responsibilities are as an Indigiqueer icon. That makes sense to me. And I can continue to lean into that, knowing kind of where that trail leads and what that path is that I'm walking. I know how to walk that with the responsibilities that I have right now, and I know when I need to pass the mic.
When another thing with Two-Spirit, in the Tlingit way, we call it, which was a lot of our medicine people. Not all of them, but a lot of them were. There's the story of the woman who married the bear. The short abridged executive summary version of it was that she made fun of a bear, and then the bears taught her a lesson by looking like humans and then taking her into their world. And she was forced to live as a bear. But she didn't know because they looked like humans. But she finally realized that she was in the supernatural because everything was opposite. That put a blanket on when she was hot. She had to use wet wood to start a fire because everything was opposite in the supernatural world. So that's why many of us who are Two-Spirit in the Tlingit way, we're seen as having 1 foot in the natural, 1 foot in the supernatural, because it's a lot of what we do is opposite to what the majority does. And so it used to scare me when I was younger. The spirits come to us all the time and show us things. It used to scare me when I was a kid, but now it's just like, you learn to accept it. But there's strength that we get from both spirits, the male and the female, that give us that strength and that ability to do what we're made to do and help the people. And not just Two-Spirit people, it's for the community to benefit everyone. And so in the end, it's a big responsibility. But
I think about how there's this designation and there are constellations within those traditional leadership structures of what clans sit where around the fire and how the clans engage with each other. And there's sort of like 2 main points of contact for each clan that talks across that fire, but that we have all clans are interconnected by those connections, right? So it's not dissimilar to the way that the spider's web is woven. It's the same as those constellations in the sky. And that's the part that's cool to me, is that when we have those moments of can I keep doing this? How is this weighing on my heart? How is this weighing on my body, my mind, my spirit? How do I keep doing this? It's almost this like spooky resonance where the land shows us that we already have everything that we need. It points to us, or it holds a mirror up to us, and it says like, no, like you're here, you're from here. Look up at the stars, look at the spider web, sit down and look at that fire, look across that fire, and see who is holding you up. How are you not alone in this? And I mean, the cool part of inhabiting those two-spirited teachings, as I understand from you, Duane, is that even when you're alone with yourself, you're not alone because you have both those spirits within you. You have all those two-spirit kin who've come before you, and you're thinking about all those nieces and nephews and nibblings who are yet to come, which is so cool.